Welcome to Bad at Goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. We'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals, and then we'll spend part of the show opening space for contemplation and awe. We'll perform a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection, of delight, and perhaps of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. And so perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Chinese alligator. The Chinese alligator is a critically endangered reptile native to the Yangtze River system in the Anhui Province of southeastern China. Its scientific name is Alligator sinensis, and it was first described in 1879. The Chinese alligator is in the Crocodilia order and is one of only 2 remaining alligator species, along with the American alligator. Genetic studies have determined that these species diverged roughly 33 million years ago, and ancestors of the Chinese alligator likely crossed the Bering Straits land bridge to Asia by roughly 20 million years ago. And over time, different habitat pressures led to distinctive evolutionary adaptations. For example, Chinese alligator are about half the size of American alligator. They have armored undersides and a shorter, more upturned snout compared to their American cousins. And of course, all alligator are distinct from modern crocodile. That lineage diverged even earlier, about 80 million years ago. Alligator have different teeth, snout shape, skin color, and habitat preference for freshwater, not saltwater, compared to modern crocodile. These are all, including our Chinese alligator, an ancient prehistoric lineage that managed to survive the KPG mass extinction event 66 million years ago. This is the asteroid impact which wiped out 3/4 of all plant and animal species on Earth and included the extinction of all non-avian dinosaurs. Crocodilia survived, and modern alligator and crocodile have retained many traits from their 240 million year old ancestors. Their body plan has remained relatively unchanged. They are a kind of glimpse into evolutionary history. The Chinese alligator is a small crocodilia, adults measuring roughly 5 feet long and weighing roughly 60 pounds. Their skin is grayish blue with tan yellowish markings. Their head is broad and their snout is short and slightly upturned, sometimes giving the appearance of a kind of charming grin. Unlike crocodile, their teeth are not visible when their mouth is closed, and the teeth are blunt, adapted for crushing rather than for piercing. The eyes, nostrils, and ears are positioned on the top of their head, so they can remain almost completely submerged while still observing their surroundings. Both their back, that's the dorsal side, and their undersides, that's the ventral side, are armored, covered in osteoderms. These are protective bony plates embedded within their skin. Their upper eyelids are protected as well, also reinforced with these bony plates. Their tail is muscular, relatively thin and long, roughly half the length of their entire body. Their legs are short and powerful. The forefeet have 5 toes, 3 of them are clawed. The hind feet have 4 toes, also 3 of them are clawed. These claws are primarily used for digging. The Chinese alligator is fossorial, meaning it burrows. They dig elaborate underground tunnels in the sandy banks of their habitat. These are complex burrow systems, reaching over 80 feet in length with multiple entrances, numerous air holes, and internal chambers large enough for the alligator to turn around in. The burrow systems include both above ground and below ground pools of water, creating a safe and stable microclimate where the temperature rarely drops below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The Chinese alligator brumates. This is the reptile equivalent of hibernation. Brumation is a state of dormancy from roughly late October to mid-April, when the alligator remain in their burrows and their metabolism slows down to conserve energy, relying entirely on stored fat reserves to survive the winter. Chinese alligator are ectotherms. They're cold-blooded. So when they emerge in the spring, their first priority is to raise their body temperature after 6 months of dormancy, spending daytime basking in the sun to warm up and renormalize their metabolism. Then in early summer, as temperatures rise, they transition to a mainly nocturnal lifestyle, spending the daylight hours in the cool shelter of their burrows and then venturing out at night to feed. The Chinese alligator is an opportunistic carnivore, meaning it feeds on a variety of prey as it becomes available. The bulk of its diet consists of hard-shelled mollusks, so freshwater snails, mussels, and clam. Its blunt teeth are adapted for crushing their shells. It will supplement its diet with fish and occasionally rats and waterfowl when the opportunity arises. It is an ambush predator. So instead of actively chasing down prey, which requires a lot of energy, they remain totally still, camouflaged with only eyes and nostrils above the water's surface, and wait for prey to come within striking distance. When snails or fish swim by, or a bird or rodent comes to the water's edge, they quickly pounce. At night and in murky waters, the Chinese alligator is able to sense prey using their integumentary sensory organs. These are small domes on the skin of their face and jaws that are incredibly sensitive mechanoreceptors. They detect pressure and vibration. So, faint water movement, like that made by a snail or a fish swimming or a small animal drinking at the shore, the integumentary sense organs allow the alligator to pinpoint the location of their prey without necessarily needing to see it. Chinese alligator also have specialized hearing that functions well both under and above water. They have an external ear flap that they can open on land or seal shut when submerged, protecting their eardrum from water pressure. Additionally, they have specialized muscles and cartilage connected to their eardrum that can adjust its tension, like tuning their ears to better receive sound vibrations underwater. Sound moves through water differently than air. Relatedly, Chinese alligator are exceptionally vocal communicators. They hiss. This is a defensive sound they make when threatened. Young alligator chirp. This is a high-pitched distress call to alert their mother and maintain contact with her and their siblings. This communication begins in infancy, even preceding hatching. Siblings chirp to one another from egg to egg, even before they emerge from their shells. In juveniles and adults, researchers have observed mooing, tooting, and whining. These are different vocalizations used in different kinds of social interactions. And lastly, they bellow, which is a low-frequency, long-distance vocalization used especially during the mating season. Alligators calling out to find one another and gather in specific ponds to mate. Mating season is in June, and Chinese alligator are polygynous, meaning that a single male will attempt to mate with multiple females. Courtship behavior includes vocalizations, water splashing, and chemical cues, pheromonal releases. And then roughly 2 to 3 weeks after mating, female Chinese alligator construct their nests. It's a mound built on land from piled up vegetation and mud. And they are big. Nests can be as tall as 3 feet in height. They're generally constructed near the female's burrow. The mother lays a clutch of about 25 eggs in the nest, which she then covers with additional vegetation. For the entire 2.5-month incubation period, the mother stays near the nest, defending it from predators and monitoring the eggs. Males play no role in raising the young. So incubation lasts roughly until September, and as hatching approaches, young alligator begin to vocalize from within their eggs, and in response, the mother excavates the nest mound and sometimes will carefully take eggs into her mouth, applying light pressure to help crack the shell and free the new hatchlings. Hatchlings are tiny, roughly 8 inches in length, and though they are born capable of movement and feeding, the mother continues to provide substantial protection and care. She'll gently pick them up in her mouth and transport them from the nest to nearby water, and then remains with her young through the autumn, and often sharing her burrow with her offspring for their first winter. Chinese alligator have a long juvenile period, taking 5 to 7 years to reach reproductive maturity. They can live more than 70 years in captivity and more than 50 years in the wild. In the dream, to sing across the veil. Either way, really, from whatsoever is before life or whatsoever is after. I long to make song that permeates, a lullaby that transverses the mysteries. To call through the mist, to chirp from my egg, to reach across the chasm of existences, to sing to my grandmother one more time. In the dream. Chinese alligator is native to Asia, specifically the Yangtze River system in the Anhui Province in southeastern China. Their natural habitat is a slow-moving freshwater ecosystem of rivers, ponds, swamps, and marshes in low-lying hills where the soil is soft and sandy with grasses, bushes, and scattered trees. But in the 20th century, that ecosystem was almost entirely lost to habitat destruction for human agricultural use. Chinese alligator coexisting in an anthropogenic landscape, surviving in canals, rice paddies, irrigation networks, and drainage ditches in a habitat fragmented by farming, residential development, and human infrastructure. Today, nearly all remaining wild populations are found within the Anhui Chinese Alligator National Nature Reserve, protected land bolstered by habitat restoration programs. Summer highs in this region can reach into the 90s Fahrenheit, and winter lows dip to right around freezing. Southeastern Anhui sees roughly 60 inches per year of rainfall, with most of it coming in May, June, and July. The Chinese alligator shares its habitat with Chinese silvergrass, Chinese hackberry, swan goose, brown rat, Chinese pangolin, field frog, Asian swamp eel, Chinese mystery snail, multiflora rose, China berry tree, Japanese bramble, cockscomb pearl mussel, corkscrew willow, little egret, dragonfly, Eurasian harvest mouse, small snakehead, white-breasted waterhen, kangaroo grass, Yangtze finless porpoise, Korean clover, speargrass, purple bush clover, eastern spot-billed duck, Chinese pond mussel, Chinese hog badger, and many, many more. Historically, as mentioned, the wild Chinese alligator population has been threatened by habitat loss and fragmentation. The natural wetlands of the lower Yangtze River basin have been transformed for agriculture. Relatedly, pesticide use has affected the alligators' waterways and, in particular, their prey. And historically, farmers would actively hunt and kill the alligators, viewing them as kind of pest that disrupted irrigation channels with their burrows and that would sometimes feed on domesticated duck. Today, most of these risks persist. Overall habitat loss continues to be an overarching threat to the remaining Chinese alligator population, and even though now illegal, direct killing of individuals has not been completely stopped. Human-induced climate change is a looming threat. Weather patterns altered by global warming may result in floods, which can sweep away nests and eggs, or in drought, which may dry up waterways, threatening the alligator's food supply. Fortunately, decades of conservation effort have been focused on the Chinese alligator. Since the 1970s, the Chinese alligator has been legally protected in China, and in 1982, the Chinese government established the Anhui Chinese Alligator National Nature Reserve to preserve the alligator's habitat and its remaining wild population. Since then, public education programs and outreach to regional farmers has significantly reduced the hunting and killing of the species. And today, habitat restoration programs are in process, including a reestablishment and reintroduction program at the Chongming Dongtan Wetland Park in Shanghai, where captive-bred Chinese alligator were released into a newly restored wetland habitat and successfully mated, nested, and hatched offspring. There are extensive off-site captive breeding programs in the US, like at the Bronx Zoo, St. Augustine Alligator Farm, and the Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge. And also, of course, in China, particularly at the Anhui Research Center for Chinese Alligator Reproduction, which began with a group of 200 wild-caught alligators and has successfully bred that captive population to over 15,000 individuals. And as of 2021, roughly 1,000 of those captive-bred Chinese alligator have been successfully reintroduced into the wild. Nevertheless, the Chinese alligator has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 1996, and though bolstered by committed conservation and these captive breeding efforts, overall, their wild population is in decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 1,400 Chinese alligator remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the Chinese alligator was compiled from Animal Diversity Web at the University of Michigan, from the IUCN, from the International Journal of Research Studies in Zoology, Volume 8, Issue 2, from Oryx, Volume 33, Number 2, and from February 2025, from Reptiles and Amphibians, Volume 20, Number 4, from the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute, from Ecology and Evolution, Volume 15, Number 3, from the Journal of Herpetology, Volume 35, Number 4, from the Journal of the Acoustic Society of America, Volume 121, Number 5, from Asian Herpetological Research, Volume 8, and from the Encyclopedia Britannica. For more information about Chinese alligator conservation, see the IUCN SSC Crocodile Specialist Group at iucncsg.org. And so now I would like to perform some music in hopes of opening a space to be in contemplation of the other lives with whom we share our earth. I do not intend to put meaning upon or extract meaning from the Chinese alligator. Instead, I want this music to simply express my awe at other life. And so I will pause in the space of sound and reflection and warmly invite you to join me.
I honor the life force of the Chinese alligator. I will commit its name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this remarkable being. I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished the species. I grieve. So in the name of the Chinese alligator, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin or their habitat by individuals, corporations, and governments. I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin.